Hello everybody, you're welcome back again to the Reggae Appreciation Society. If we ask 10 people who the first elite non-Jamaican dancehall artist was, they would likely reel off names like Snow, Collie Buddz, Gentleman or Alborosie. But before any of these guys came on the scene, there was Dominic Kenny, better known in the dancehall community as Dominic with a K. Straight out of North Kensington in London, this plucky British lad left his upper middle class origins and established himself down in Jamaica as one of the true underground heroes of the dancehall movement in the early 1980s. And though not the first non-Jamaican dancehall DJ, as that honor belongs to UK Trojan Records artist Judge Dredd, Dominic was the first to go beyond not only embracing that art form, but would move to Jamaica as a teenager and embedded himself at the heart of the culture right there in Kingston at the beginning of the 1980s. Something that Italian-born reggae star Alborosie would replicate 2 decades later. Dominic was right through the ranks, paying his dues in the rugged sound system scene in Kingston, alongside then future legends like Supercat, Ninja Man and Charlie Chaplin. His foray into a career as a DJ would begin as a novelty thing, but his dedication, talent, street credibility, and not to mention memorable sound clashes with the best of the best have all since established his legacy and entwined his story with that of the history of dancehall in Jamaica. But how did this average kid from West London become among the most respected DJs in the inner city streets of Jamaica? Let's take a look at the incredible story of Dominic. He was born in London in 1965 and was the last child of renowned British sculptor Michael James Kenny. He grew up in an area called Ladbroke Grove in West London and attended Oxford Gardens Primary School, a school also attended by Aswad member Brinsley Ford. His childhood home was a stone throw from the area called Notting Hill and would grow up witnessing the amazing sights and sounds of the annual Notting Hill Carnival, which showcased the finest in Caribbean culture, including the wonderful music. His neighborhood was simply vibrating with Jamaican culture, but his love for reggae truly began with his elder sister, who was a big fan of the punk movement, which had embraced reggae music big time by the end of the 1970s. But it was the dancehall explosion at the dawn of the 1980s that would turn his life path in a whole new direction. After finishing secondary school, his artistic streak saw him find a job as a journalist on different music magazines like Black Echoes, NME, and Zigzag. He had always liked reggae music, but his fate with dancehall became sealed when he heard the classic track Wadu Dem by Ika Mouse and turned his focus from general music coverage to reggae and dancehall in particular. So in 1983, the then teenager traveled to Jamaica to interview upcoming dancehall stars in the gritty dancehall scene. He would in those times interview the likes of Supercat, Billy Boyo, Little John, and so many others, quickly becoming really friendly with all of them and spending plenty of time around these artists. He would often get invited to come and hang out with them at sound system events. And one day he was invited by Supercat to come and hang out at his whole Imperial Sound System dance. Seeing how enthusiastic he was, Dominic was given the chance to do a freestyle on the microphone and he would jump at the opportunity. And it was all fun and jokes until Billy Boyo and Barrington Levy in particular began to encourage him to take it seriously. Eventually, even the likes of Supercat and Early B had to admit that Dominic had potential. Now with his interviews over, he went back to London, but bristling with a new passion and confidence in music. He was given the assignment to go interview the owners and DJs at the popular London sound system, Saxon. And just like back in Jamaica, they gave him the chance to get on the microphone, and now more confident, he also gave a good account of himself and caught the attention of a visiting toaster from Jamaica called Peter Metro, then resident DJ at popular Kingston sound system, Metro Media. He commended Dominic's performance and asked him to come check out Metro Media the next time he was in Kingston. But before Dominic could explore all those options, he was arrested by the police, supposedly framed, and eventually did jail time for breaking and entering in 1985. But while in jail, Dominic got a visit from a friend he had made during his time in Jamaica, and that person was Jamaican producer George Pang. Pang would encourage Dominic and promised him a collaboration once he was out of prison. He also gave him a cassette that had a recording from a sound system dance back in Jamaica, and that tape contained a shout out from toaster Papa Levi, and this more than anything would make him decide to choose a life path as a DJ. Dominic was released from jail after 12 months, and true to his word, George Pang would take Dominic under his wing and would allow him hang out with him to get a feel of life in the studio. Dominic in those times would witness the recording and production of Half Pint's monster hit Greetings, and soon after would record his first song titled Computer Trim. And when going back home, George Pang would take Dominic back to Jamaica with him and gifted him a flat at Arnett Gardens in Kingston. And for those not too familiar with that neighborhood's reputation at the time, it was a very tough area that was simply overflowing with gangsters and thugs and was popularly called Jungle. But rather than be intimidated, Dominic would fit right in and became very friendly with all the tough guys. Eager to get into the dancehall scene, he would hang around nightclubs and sound systems, and one night at the popular Gemini nightclub, he would once again run into Peter Metro of Metro Media Sound System, the same DJ that he had met at Saxon Sound System in London a year before. Peter Metro was excited to see Dominic again and would take him under his wing as an apprentice DJ at their outfits. And it was over at Metro Media that he would gradually hone his craft and become a truly professional toaster. His presence at Metro Media would attract plenty of people to their dances. And that attraction at first were people curious to see the white British dude with a Cockney accent flowing at Metro Media. But with time, he genuinely began to excite audiences with his expert timing, humorous witty lyrics, and likable persona. And in no time, his toasting talents saw him play a big role in several sound clashes with other outfits and fire-spitting DJs. And one of his most memorable outings was the night when Metro Media went up against and thoroughly thrashed Sugar Minot's Youthman Promotion sound system. Even though Youthman's had sent a weekend lineup, at that outfit star DJ Tenor Saw had by then moved to the US. The year 1987 would get even better for Dominic as his debut album in the self-titled Dominic hit the streets before the end of that year. His incredible year would end on a high as he would mount the stage and perform at the Reggae Sun Splash, capping off an amazing introduction to life in Jamaica. 1988 also kicked off with a bang as he was in heavy demand for concerts and shows all over Jamaica and would share stages with new dancehall kings like Ninja Man, Papa San, Josie Wales, and just about every other major DJ in Jamaica. Dominic loved Jamaica and the island loved him right back. Over at Arnett Gardens, he would mingle with notorious street killers like Zeeks, and as well as dons like Tony Welch, and was loved by all. But that universal appeal didn't always go smoothly, mind you. See, at the time, Kingston was divided into political garrisons, and Arnett Gardens, where he lived, belonged to the PNP political party. But it so happened that the best herb in Kingston could be found over in Tivoli Gardens, which was the JLP party's stronghold. So he began to raise eyebrows in his hood as he was always crossing over garrison lines for one thing or the other, and he would also get invitations to perform at sound systems over in those JLP areas, much to the irritation and anger of his neighbors. But employing his natural charm and likability, he was able to manage it all quite well. His blistering form continued into 1988, but early that year he would fall out with Jimmy Metro, the actual owner of Metro Media Sound System, in a dispute over money, and left that outfit to join King Jammy's sound system, which had the likes of Shaka Demus and Admiral Bailey in its ranks. And it was during that period that he released his second album, Ready for Dominic, that was produced by King Jammy. And after working with Jammies for a while, he would also begin to ply his trade over at Jamaica's premier sound system, Kilimanjaro. And in those times, he was heavily in demand for sound system gigs and concerts in America, particularly in New York. So he would relocate to the Big Apple like many dancehall and reggae artists were doing at the time. And he was accommodated by Supercats in his home over at Queens. On top of plenty of gigs and concerts over in New York, Dominic would also fly around the world doing shows and concerts, and would end that year on a high with an encore performance at the 1988 edition of the Reggae Sun Splash. Interestingly, while living in New York, Dominic would embrace the hip-hop movement and become friends with the likes of KRS-One and Digital Underground, which then had a young Tupac. And it's been often said that Dominic pioneered the fusion of dancehall and hip-hop that became the rave by the 1990s, with the likes of Shabba Ranks and Patra breaking into international markets of that formula. And while in the US, he would collaborate extensively with the likes of Louis Rankin, Ika Mouse, and the entire body of the vibrant Jamaican dancehall community, which then had strong presence in the US. But by the middle of the 1990s, Dominic had become frustrated with all the intrigues in the music industry and would move back to the UK. It's not clear exactly why he got tired, but rumors have it that not getting any royalties from his recorded music, as well as his inability to get a major record deal, sort of got under his skin. And if you ask me, I believe some of that frustration would have stemmed from seeing the meteoric rise and success of Canadian dancehall artist Snow, whose breakout single Informer had become a roaring global success. But that's just my opinion. He still had a big love for music, but to earn a decent living, he would go back to his first profession, which was journalism. He was ready for a comeback in the early 2000s, but the birth of his son would make him take even more time off to handle family business. Today, he's still very much in love with music and visits Jamaica every now and then to touch base with his old comrades and immerse himself in the culture that he loves so much. He still gets on the mic at sound system dances every now and then, and the last time he was on stage in Jamaica, he received a good response from the crowd. Juggling memories back to the time when Dominic, a kid fresh off the plane from London, became a household name in Kingston and a bona fide member of that Jamaican dancehall scene 4 decades ago. So there you have it. Thank you for watching the video today. Please leave a like, subscribe, and until next time, God bless.